everybody. Testing out the new Stream Deck. Well, it's not new, but I finally got it to work. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining today. My name is Angela. I am a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to all of you, just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you techniques that I use every day in my own voiceover business, and I answer your questions. I try to do these, and I have been succeeding so far in doing these once a week on Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern. And I'm here just to hang out, answer your questions, and ask silly poll questions, apparently. I like it. I like asking my poll questions. Anywho, so today's poll question is, do you slate your auditions? And so far, we already have 9 votes, 10 votes, and 20% of you say yes, 20% of you say no, and 60% say, what does slate mean? That's funny. So slating is, if you think back in like the old time movies when they have the physical slate, when they actually write down scene 4, scene 5, and the name of the movie, and then they'll go, action, it's sort of similar. It's you stating the purpose of the audition before the audition within the recording itself. Example, you are submitting an audition and you're recording it. So at the beginning of the recording, you say, you state your name, 1 of 2 takes, you're saying you're basically jumping off or starting the audition with this is my name and this is how many takes I have, right? It's very divided in people slating and not slating. I admittedly have not slated. I did in the very beginning because I thought you were supposed to, but you're not. But I can see, as I go along, I can see the value in slating your auditions because you could incorporate a personal touch into your audition. Meaning, if someone submits a audition, right, on a site like voices.com, voice123, and their name is there, you could say, hi, my name is Angela Olfest. I am, submitting for this audition, 1 of 2 takes. Then you do your first take and then your second take. If you have a script that could go 2 different tones, right? You want to give them a little bit of a variation of tone. I could see how that personal connection might make you stand out a little bit, but I don't know if the person listening to 30, 40, 50 plus auditions is going to want to spend the time listening to anything extraneous, anything other than what they're looking for. So it's one of those things where I'd say try it and see what kind of response you get. Or I don't know, I'm kind of torn myself on slating. I might try adding a personal touch or a jump off, meaning if you have a script that has something sort of upbeat, like a sales pitch or something, and if you want to start it off with like you're talking to someone else and then go into the script, if that helps you kind of get into that character or get into that tone, then, I would say leave those in and see what kind of responses you get. What could it hurt, right? Just to try it. Now we're up to 19 votes. 26% of you say yes, 11% say no, and 63% say what does slate mean. That's pretty interesting because I'm torn. I think I'm going to try to use a couple more. When auditioning, I'm going to add a slate, I think. Maybe a personal touch. We'll see. Let's hop over to the chat. Looks like we've got a lot of people joining. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I appreciate your time. Sean Lester 007 says, time for my weekly support group. I am Sean, and I am a voiceaholic. That's funny. That's awesome. You guys are awesome. I love that. Ralph Tolles is here. Howdy, Angela. Ralph from Fresno. Great to participate live for a change. I'm glad that you could participate. I'm glad that you can make it in and hang out with us for a little bit today. Thank you for joining. Sean Lester 007 says, seriously, thank you for doing this. Seriously, thank you for joining, because if you guys didn't come, then I would be just sitting here talking to myself. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Musical Neptunian, hello, hello. Midnight Sounds ASMR, hello. Wow. Do you have, I'm assuming you have a YouTube channel. You should with Midnight Sounds ASMR. That's cool. Might have to check that out. Tina M says, good morning from Arkansas. Good morning, Tina. I appreciate you stopping by and saying hello. And oh, wow, I just got a super chat. At home with Tom and Rhonda Howard. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's very, very kind of you. You guys are awesome. You know what? I'm going to have to, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Polypop. It's sort of like OBS, but you can have it do like 3D animations on the screen. I want to see if I could do like I don't know, have it explode with money or something, or a thank you, or a happy faces or something. I don't know. I'm not that technically inclined to do that, but it would be cool to have some sort of like a trigger, to have something cool happen. But thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Now I lost my spot. Where am I at? Brittany Beck says hello and good morning. Hello, Brittany. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you. JCCAOL is there. Hello. Hello and good morning. Ash says, hi, this is the first time I made your Q&A live. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for stopping on by. Gary Micheloni says, and I know you told me how to pronounce that, and I hope I'm not butchering it because my memory is garbage. I hope that's right. Don't hate me. I always put my name at the beginning of an audition just in case the audio file gets separated from my email. On ACX, I often put a message note to the author as the audition is being submitted. That's a really good point. That's a really good point because I think if you think about it, if there are multiple auditions and the client is downloading them and then listening to them, if your name is not in the file itself, which I highly recommend doing, then having your name in the actual audition itself in the recording is going to be beneficial for that purpose too, to help the client find you, to hire you, right? That's awesome. Flame Wingman says, hi, Angela. My mic comes in tomorrow. I'm hyped. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations on the new mic. You're going to have to keep us updated on, or let us know which one you chose. Getting new gear is always fun. Junior says, hi. Hi. Doop-a-doop-doo. Oh, I think I skipped one. I saw something about a Lewitt. Oh, it was Midnight Sounds. I'm sorry I skipped you. How is the new Lewitt mic? Thinking about getting one. You know what? I have to admit, I bought the mic with the intention on testing it out because, and for those of you that don't know, I purchased the Lewitt 440 Pure mic last week. And because from what I'm hearing about this mic and all of the comparisons I've seen about it on YouTube, like Booth Junkie and a few others have done some comparisons, and it sounds very similar to my Sennheiser. I mean, for deeper voices. I could be wrong. I haven't tested it yet. Don't kill me. But I wanted a backup mic, A, and B, it had to sound similar to my Sennheiser. And C, I thought that for a microphone under $300, if it does what they say it does, then it would be a great starter mic, a great starter XLR mic. Because, most of us, we start out with a USB mic and then we move up to our first XLR. And most of the time, that's usually an Audio-Technica or a Rode or, this could be a good alternative to sound as good as a Sennheiser or a Neumann And Sennheiser and Neumann fans out there, don't hate me, but this is what I'm hearing. It's comparable to a mic that's, you know, 4 times as much. So it'd be interesting to see how it actually sounds. And I haven't tested it yet because it never fails. As soon as I get caught up, my business goes from 0 to 60. I get caught up and then boom, boom, boom. I got 3 like relatively larger orders for audiobooks and video narrations, all within like the span of an hour. And they're all due within the same sort of time period. So I have to get to work. I can't, plug it in and undo my Sennheiser and then, mix or meddle with my settings and stuff to get it. I can't spend the time to do that right now. I need to get this work done. And then, because I definitely don't want to risk doing anything to the Sennheiser in the process, right? Because once you have something set up, you definitely don't want to touch it, mess with it, So that is where I'm at. So I'm hoping to test the Lewitt soon, but trying to get caught up with these has been a challenge in itself. So I am trying. I realize that you guys are waiting, and I'm trying. I appreciate your patience. Sean Lester 007 says, knowing what slating is now, may I revote? I am now in the no column. You can have a verbal revote if you want to. I don't think you could actually revote, but I'm torn on the slating. I think because like I said, I think one part of my brain says, no, nobody wants to hear that stuff. They just want to hear what they're asking to hear. But then the other part of my brain says, well, that's a nice little human touch. It's a connection that I think some people might appreciate. But then again, if everybody's doing it, maybe by the time they get to your audition, they're just like, ugh, I just want to hear what I want to hear, right? So I'm not quite sure how I feel about slating, but I might try more just to see what happens. Marla Benningfield, sorry, Marla. Hi, new here, glad to be here. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you stopped on in and said hello. I appreciate you stopping by. Musical Neptunian says, happened to be up late at night completing a LibriVox book chapter, so I decided to be here. So are you still up? Is it late? How late is it where you are? But I appreciate that you're taking a break and hanging out with me. I appreciate that. Ralph Toll says, what's the best method to communicate your rates? The best method to communicate your rates with clients, I would say one of the first things you should do, along with training and getting familiar with your DAW and practicing, is to determine what your rates are going to be and make yourself a rate card. Now, I don't think I could put links in the chat, but I think there is a link in my description for this video for Anthony Pica's website, A VO's Journey. He has got a fabulous rate card guide on his website that is a really great place to go and take a look. He's got it broken down by beginner, intermediate, and expert. So if you take a look at his rate guide, even the GVAA rate guide, and I think there's a few other voice actors that have recommended rate guides as well. If you take a look at all of those and come up with your own rate that you're comfortable with, and then put it down on paper or digitally even, if you create yourself a rate card, meaning broken down by type of voiceover, you could charge by minute, make sure you got your studio fees in there, or by word, depending on what it is. There's a lot of different ways to configure a rate card. And once you go and look at those rate card suggestions or those guides, you'll see what I mean. But having a rate card that's easily, linkable into an email or easy to reference for you if someone approaches you and says, hey, I have this project, how much is it? You can take that information and, get an idea of what you want to charge by using your rate card. And then using that rate card, you can determine your pricing across all of the platforms when you're asked to provide your rates, right? So having a rate card is something that you're going to reference a lot. So it's a good idea to take some time and to create one. You could put it in an Excel spreadsheet, you could put it on a PDF, you can put it in a Word document. You could even go to Canva and create yourself something really nice. There's a lot of good templates on Canva for creating just about anything that you want. You can make a nice rate card in there too, and then save it and then send that to clients if you want to. But having a rate card is going to be very important in the beginning. And then you can always adjust those rates as you go along too. Midnight Sounds ASMR says, I do upload on here, just recently started. Well, awesome. I love listening to not quite meditation, but I guess meditation music, like the calming, soothing rain sounds and things of that nature while I sleep. So if that's what it is, I'll definitely be checking out your channel. And good luck to you. Gary Micheloni says, Mike Aloni. Oh, Mike Aloni is preferred. Sorry, Gary. Gary Mike Aloni. Okay, I'll see if I can try to remember that. Kate Johnson says, funny question, to the good mood. Are you ticklish? If so, where? No. No, not really. Oh my gosh. Okay. At home with Tom and Rhonda Howard. I purchased the Sennheiser MKH416 and I love it. Thanks for the tip. I love my Sennheiser. I've had it for about 3 years now. And I don't anticipate anything happening to it, but having a backup mic, having a backup everything is always a good idea. You never know when you're just going to go turn everything on in your studio and then your interface is going to buzz, or you just never know with equipment, right? It's always good to have a backup. But I love my Sennheiser. Stan Hargrove is here. Good morning, Stan. Thank you for stopping on by. How to deal with acronyms and footnotes in a tech publication. For example, when I see TAC, should I read TAC or TAC or Tactical Air Command? I would read what is written. If it's written as TAC and the common pronunciation for that, if it's an acronym and it's commonly referred to as TAC for that acronym, I would pronounce it as TAC. I'm trying to think of a good example. Like ASAP, right? If someone writes ASAP in a book, ASAP, and now that I say that, I think it depends on the context, but typically if it's written as ASAP, we all know what that means. I wouldn't say as soon as possible. I would read what is written, and most of the time I think I would just say ASAP or ASAP. I think that's a bad example, but I think, again, it depends on the context. But ultimately, if you have a question about how something should be pronounced, I would definitely reach out to the rights holder and ask. Although if it's a LibriVox book, it might be difficult to get a straight answer on that. You might just need to go with your gut and go with what feels right in that context. But for your example, TAC, I would just say TAC, if that is the common pronunciation for that acronym. Kenny M says, good question. Yeah, that is a good question. I'm glad you brought that up, Stan. That is a very good question. Kenny M says, good afternoon from Washington, D.C., Miss Angela. Good morning, Kenny. Thank you for doing these. I may not comment too often, but I get so much from these. Well, that's good. I'm glad because I think coming in here every week and just talking to you guys I really enjoy it. And then the fact that you guys get something out of it too, if it's actually worthwhile for you, then it makes me feel very good. I'm very glad. Musical Neptunian says, yes, very late. Very late for you. All right, let's pop over to the poll really quick. For those of you just joining, now we have 28 votes. And today's poll was, do you slate your auditions? And I know there's a lot of there's a lot of debate about whether or not to slate because, again, the two sides are, do you, and again, the definition of slate is when you add in something other than the actual audition script itself at the beginning, like, hello, I'm Angela. This is one of two takes, something like that nature, something that is not the actual script. And I think, again, one side of my brain says yes, because that would make you or your audition more identifiable for the person listening. But then on the same hand, I put my name in the audition itself. So if they liked my audition, they could find out who I was and how to contact me. However, the other side of my brain says that the person listening is listening through 30, 40 auditions sometimes, maybe more. And the last thing they want to hear is anything extra. They just want to get to the actual audition itself. So I'm torn on slating, but I don't know. I think I might try it a few times and see if it makes a difference. All right, so we're up to 32 votes, and we got 19% of you say yes, 19% say no. See, everybody's torn. And then the vast majority, 62, say, what does slate mean? So that is what slating means. And it's very, very torn. Some do, some don't. Some feel very strongly about doing it, and some just think it's not necessary. So it's interesting to get your take on slating, because I myself am torn, because I can see it from both sides, you know. Now, where did I leave off? Gosh, stop it, mouse. I think it was Gary where we left off on. Gary Micheloni. Did I get it right that time? Can it be that Musical Neptunian has given you a clue as to the area of residence? Yeah, he's on the other side of the planet. And then Musical Neptunian says, at Gary Micheloni, very true. I walk past kangaroos on a daily basis. That is so cool. That is so cool. Let's see. Ralph Toll says, thank you for the rate card advice. You're very welcome. Nazar Ibrahim says, I am sure you talked about this before, but how do you suggest I start? Do you have any video about this topic? I have tons of videos here on my channel about how to get started, some advice I have for getting started on different sites. I've got audiobook advice. I've got how to add music to VoiceOver, Adobe Audition. I've got lots of videos here on my channel. So just take a look around, and I'm sure you'll find a lot of information. Now where am I? Robert Palmore says, when I was in the military, we always said tack and sack. Yeah, that's what I thought. But I think it also depends on what the acronym is and what the common pronunciation of that acronym is as it's being said, like ASAP, right? I think, granted, that was probably a bad example, because I think I know some people that say ASAP and some people that say ASAP. So, but I think just go with the common pronunciation of that acronym, and I think you'd be fine. But if you can't decide on which way to go, ultimately reach out to the rights holder and ask them how they would like it pronounced, I think is the best way to go for that particular situation. JCCAOL says, if you like ASMR, there are so many varieties, from rain and snow blizzards to being on a jet airplane, on a Greyhound bus, to trains and Harry Potter, Batman, you name it. There is tons of sounds and visual triggers as well for ASMR. ASMR is, I know it's an auditory response, but if you go onto YouTube and just plug in ASMR, there's whispering, there's slime sounds, there's all kinds of different types of ASMR, which are basically triggers that give you like the feel goods. I actually have a course on meditations, affirmations, and ASMR on my website, and ASMR to me is very, very interesting. I've been asked to do a whisper ASMR once for a voiceover project. That was interesting. it was most hard for me, I think, because they want to hear the mouth sounds. Because the mouth sounds is what, for that particular type of ASMR, is what the trigger is, right? Those are the triggers that people like, that give them like the tingly feel goods. So, but for me and for other voice actors, I think I speak for the vast majority of us, mouth sounds are the bane of our existence. We want to get rid of the mouth sounds. But for ASMR, they want the mouth sounds, which it was a clash. You know, it was an internal clash the entire time, but ultimately the client loved it and that was that. But that was very uncomfortable for me to do. But you're right, there's tons of different types of ASMR. Colin Clark says, hello from Newcastle upon Tyne. Newcastle upon Tyne. Am I saying that right? Tina M says, I am just starting to get my studio together. It's a tiny closet and I'm claustrophobic. Any tips to help or anyone else deal with this? Oh my gosh, Tina. I'm not so much claustrophobic, but I would like my space to be a little bigger. I can kind of relate the space that I'm in right now is like a 5x6 storage room, for lack of a better term. It's just like a small little closet that I was able to convert into a studio. Although you don't really want a big open space for voiceover because you want to suppress any kind of echo or dead air kind of sound. You know, you kind of want it to be close quarters, I think is what I'm looking for, because it'll give you better control of the sound that's going into the microphone. And most often, even with like whisper rooms and studio bricks, you know, booths that you can buy and go in and record in, those are typically very small too. Mostly because they're expensive, right? And the bigger they are, the more expensive they are. But most of the time, they're about the size of this room, if not smaller. So I think a lot of voice actors are in the same place that you are, although being claustrophobic is going to be difficult. If you have a door, which I'm sure you do, you could leave it open when you're not recording to help reduce maybe some of that anxiety. But you would have to keep it closed for, I would think, for when you're recording to keep any kind of outside noises away from your microphone, to keep down the reflection from, you know, because your voice carries when you speak, right? It bounces around the room and then into the microphone. So you want to reduce any hard surfaces, any open space that could, you know, distort the sound of your voice. Not really distort it, but have a sound that you don't want. So being claustrophobic, I think, is going to be a little bit difficult, but maybe take a lot of breaks. You know, give yourself pockets of time where you work. Maybe work for an hour. You know, soldier through if you can. I don't know how bad your anxiety is, but take a lot of breaks. Give yourself an hour to record, to work, and then get up, get out, and take a walk around. It's going to be difficult, but I think you could probably find a happy medium to make it work for you. But yeah, that would be difficult. I feel you. If anyone else has any tips for Tina, please put them in the chat for her. John Popovich says, good morning, Angela. Sorry I'm late. Thanks for all your help and info. You can come in whenever you want to. You don't have to be here at the beginning. I just appreciate you stopping by. I realize that you guys have probably lots of other things to do, work, you know, kids stuff. I know there's a lot of things that we have to do during the day, so I really, truly appreciate the time that you guys take out of your day to spend here with me and with everyone else here in the chat. So again, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for stopping in. I appreciate it. Robert Palmore says, when I submitted an audition, I named the file Robert Palmore, project name, WAV, or MP3. This isn't slating, but it gets my name out there without wasting too much of their time. Yeah, I do what you do. I put my name in the file name. When I submit an audition, I'll reference usually the job number, like if it's on voices.com or something like that. I'll reference the job number so I can keep track of which one it is. And then I put my name in the file also. So hopefully they can find me that way, you know, instead of slating it. Yeah. I don't know. It could go either way, but I do the same. I do the same. Flame Wingman says, I think it makes more sense to slate at the end after they hear your audition. That's a good point, too. I think, however, my brain, of course, thinks of alternate, solutions or alternate endings to things all the time. It like goes in 50 different directions all the time, which I'm sure you guys know by now. But to me, if they're listening to 30, 40 auditions and you don't slate and they hear your audition and they hear enough in the first few seconds that whether they like you or they don't like you, there's a good chance they might not get to the end, right? They might not even know it's there. So if they listen through the first 3 seconds and go, that's the voice right there, that might be enough for them. They might not listen through to the end to hear your name. But then, I don't know. I wouldn't want to leave that to chance that they actually do listen through to the end. So I see what you're saying, and it does make sense. However, that would be my fear, that they wouldn't listen through and hear my name. I guess you want to make it as easy as possible for them to find you, to hire you, right? I don't know. It's a tough question. Kirk is here. Hello, darling. Kirk says, hi from the road, currently outside Norfolk. I'm in the my name's in the file name, and the auditioner wants to hear the audition, so no slate camp. Yeah, me too. I think I might just stick with that. Although I want to test the theory. So I think the next audition that I do, I'm going to add in, hopefully, if the job poster has their name somewhere in there, that I can reference it and say hi to them and then make it quick. I don't know. I'm going to try it. And see how it goes. I totally apologize, but I'm not going to be able to pronounce that. I'm so sorry. I don't even know how to even approach that. But this person says, hi there, Angela. My name is, thank you. My name is Eugene Gavsky. I'm from Russia and I love your channel. Came just to say hello, wishing best of luck, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much for putting your name in the comments, because I don't read Russian. I don't even know how to pronounce that. I don't want to butcher it and even try. So thank you, Eugene. I appreciate the kudos, and I'm glad you enjoy my channel, and I'm glad that you're here hanging out with the rest of us. Thank you so much. Robert Palmore says, claustrophobic or closet phobic? That's a good question. I think it would be both, right? Because if you're in a closet, or so then if you're under the stairs, would you be, well, would that even be called? I know there's a name for that. Isn't there a name for that? The space under the stairs? I've watched enough horror movies to know that. I can't think of it though. Who knows that? There is a name for that, right? Like the closet space under the stairs. What is that? Because that would be, whatever that is, phobic, I think. I was trying to be funny. That was my failed attempt at humor. That's funny. Okay, so Eugene comes back and says, just getting started in the amazing world of VO, bought Synco Mic D2 and DBX 286S. Feeling all right about them. Thank you for your advices. The Synco Mic, the D2, I've heard really great things about the D2. That is the one that is, and correct me if I'm wrong because my brain, but it's the Sennheiser equivalent, right? It's the one that sounds a lot like the Sennheiser 416, but at a fraction of the cost. And the DBX 286S is a preamp that's got some effects on it. I have one too. The only thing that I use my DBX for is I don't even use the preamp on it so much. I use the noise gate that's on it, because even though it's very, very low, it filters out anything that shouldn't come into the room, or into the recording rather. So the DBX has actually got it's got bass, treble, it's got a de-esser, it's got a lot of effects on it, and it's a great piece of equipment. But train of thought derailed. So I'm glad that you're enjoying the D2 and the DBX 286 so far. You'll have to keep us posted on how things are progressing for you. Uh, Lost my place again. Oh, Chris is here. Hi, Chris. Good morning. When you do an audition for an audiobook, typically do you create character voices or just change up tone for dialogue? Not sure if I'm going overboard. Thanks. I think for you in particular, I think knowing that you don't like to really deviate from your preferred tone, I know that you have the ability to make different tones. There was a couple of demos of yours. Well, maybe a couple, just one in particular that I remember that was a completely different tone than your deep preferred tone. So I know that you have the capability to create different tones and pitches for characters. If you don't have the ability to change your pitch or tone for a character, which I don't necessarily say you should do, when it comes to characters, I think it's more about the attitude or the personality of that character. Because you could even, for example, if it was a children's book, you could draw out words. You know, I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and they were talking about being a cow character and how they would draw out the words because it's a cow, right? There's a lot of personality traits or attributes that you can incorporate into that voice to make it different from your main character, your narrator voice, whoever it is, without changing necessarily the pitch or tone of your voice. It's all in the personality of that character, right? I'm not sure if you're going overboard either. I guess we would have to. I guess if you want to show us what you mean by going overboard, not everybody here in the chat, but in our Thursday group, if you want to show us what you think you're going overboard on, we could do that. Lost my spot. I think we're on Henrik N. Plow. Hi. Hi, Angela. I was wondering if you have any tips on how to stay motivated in periods of little work. Watching your videos helps a lot. I might just have answered my own question there. That's funny. When there's little work, what I do is I just keep moving forward. I will go back to my website and add more to it, refresh my demos. You could, that's exactly it. You could refresh all of your demos on all of your profiles that you're on, you know, online to find work, refresh the samples, refresh the demos. You could work on your social media content. You could start a YouTube channel. You could, whatever you need to do for your business, there's always something to do. When you're running and maintaining a business, there's always something to do, right? You could start looking for people to make connections with on LinkedIn. You could start, you know, an email campaign introducing yourself to people. There's always something to do to keep moving forward. And all of these little seeds, as trivial as you may think that they do end up paying off and saving you time in the future. If you're starting to establish yourself while you have no actual work to do, you're still working on building your business as a whole. And those are all good things. And those tend to keep you motivated too, because you're still working toward that goal, not necessarily doing the mic work, but you're still working towards building this business of yours that will one day, hopefully, be where you want it to be. And all of the things, all of the little seeds that you plant, you will end up reaping at some point in the future. So just keep moving forward. Just keep working on it and keep going. But watching my videos will help too. Andy B is here. Hi, running late. Missed anything? Is skating necessary? Oh, slating? When did you check out the 440 yet? No, I haven't. Because I've just been too darn busy to check out the 440. I think I'm trying to get today, after we're done with our live here, I'm going to try to get one of my audiobooks mostly done. I'm going to try to get caught up on that. And then hopefully by tomorrow, I'm hoping I'll have a little extra time to play with the 440. But I think my main fear is taking apart or unhooking the Sennheiser and then having something happen. I think that's a fear. Anytime you mess with anything, you run the risk of it not working again. So I think that fear too is a real thing. But I promise you guys I'm going to do it, so I'm going to do it. I just need to, hopefully tomorrow. But slating basically is when you insert your name at the beginning of an audition instead of just getting right to the audition copy. People are torn on whether to do it or not. What I do, Andy, is I put my name in the audition file, in the file naming itself. That way they can find my name if they like my audition, so they can find me and reach out to me. Some people don't put their name in the file name, but they actually say their name at the beginning of the audition. So that is basically what slating is. How are we out on time? We got about 20 minutes or so. Let's see if we can get through these questions. Ash says, if you can't treat a DIY vocal booth the way it needs, what is the best way to treat around the microphone itself? I have a foldable sound shield and I am putting up foam on cardboard today. Honestly, I have tried a few different things to improve the sound of my recordings in this room. And the best thing that I can say to do is to treat your space. If you can't treat your space, find a space that you can treat, or build something around your space that you can use. Because I've actually tried one of those microphone shields and they're good, but if you have a microphone that's front facing and the shield is behind it, it's already rejecting most of what's behind it. The microphone is not going to pick up mostly what's behind it and to the sides anyway. It's picking up what is coming right in front of it. So if your voice bounces off the ceiling and then the wall behind you and then into the microphone, you're still going to have a bit of echo. If your voice bounces off the desktop and then back into the microphone, that's not really going to help you. So the sound shields are great. Excuse me. But they're not going to work for every single microphone and in every single space. They might reduce some of the reverb and the echo, but probably not as much as we would like. I think the shield was a great idea, but in reality, I don't know how much that's going to benefit you and your space. I think ultimately, whenever you have a problem with your space or whatever the situation is, fix the root of the problem. And in that case, treat your space. And if you can't, again, you can always build, and I know a lot of people that have done this, take some PVC and some moving blankets and build something around you that will help reduce the reverb, not just around the mic, but around you completely, to reduce the echo in the room and the sound of the space that you're in. It might not reduce sound coming in, like street sounds, like trucks passing by and things like that, but at least it might reduce some of the reflections or the echo going into your microphone. So I don't know how well the sound shields around the microphones actually do work. I found that the one that I used didn't really help that much. My best results came from treating my space as a whole, covering all my walls with soft surfaces to reduce the reflection. That helped best for me and my space. Mike Russell says, hello from Tampa. Hello. Thanks for joining today, Mike. This isn't the Mike Russell, is it? Is this a different Mike Russell? Are you the Mike Russell that we talk about on this channel? I'm sure there's more than one Mike Russell, but it would be cool if we had Mike Russell here, huh? If it is you, I've learned an awful lot from you about Adobe Audition on your channel, but let's see. Andy B says, is slating necessary? It's not necessary. It's a preference. Gary Micheloni, I'm learning, says slate at both ends. The author wants you to take up your time to do the audition, so it seems fair that I can put 5 to 10 seconds identifying me to either end. That's a good point. Um, Although I don't know if I would spend my time, but I guess covering both ends, I guess wouldn't be a bad thing. So yeah, I can see that point too. Robert Palmore says space under the stairs is called a spandrel. Is that what it's called? A spandrel? Am I even pronouncing that right? Spandrel? Where's Merriam-Webster? Robert Palmore says, man, I can sound so smart when I use Google. Well, so you Googled it? A spandrel? That's what it's called? Man, I was thinking of a different word. But if that's right, then I guess that's right. Thank you for that. Robert Palmore says, when you lose your train of thought, do you call it a blonde moment? If I was actually really blonde. I'm not actually really blonde. I haven't been blonde since I was 20. It's definitely not blonde. I would just call it a train derailment, I guess. I don't know. A blonde moment. That's funny. No, I would if I was really blonde, but I'm not. Brittany Beck says, on the topic of character voices, do you have any tips for switching back and forth between different voices during a dialogue scene? I can do distinct voices, but I find it hard to switch quickly. It it is tough sometimes, especially if they are difficult voices that you're trying to maintain. What you could do if you're having trouble with keeping track of who is who, you could actually highlight on your copy, on the manuscript, you can highlight the different characters in different colors and then have a color key for each. For example, just to make it simple, if you have male, female, right, Mr. and Mrs., basically, you could have blue and pink or whichever colors you choose to help you at a glance differentiate who the new character is talking. So you would have to go through the book beforehand and highlight everybody's dialogue in their color to help you figure out who is who quickly. Or you could just give yourself a nice pause to find that voice again, because I know some of the voices are hard to really maintain throughout a book, and I get that. And it's hard to just switch quickly. Some people can do it just seamlessly, and sometimes the character voices are difficult. So you might just have to give yourself a pause, take a sip of water or something, and prepare yourself to do that character voice. I guess it just depends on what works best for you. And I feel like I say that a lot, but it's true because we're all so different in how we approach things and what works best. Like, for example, some people really enjoy or love using the punch and roll technique for their DAW, right? I'm a clicker person. I like to use my clicker when I make a mistake and then just go back through and edit that out. That is the way I've always done it. That is the way that I'm most comfortable with. That might take longer, but I don't think that I am coordinated enough, A, to do punch and roll. I've tried it, and it takes me out of the moment when I have to pause, go back, and then redo it again. And then also with the clicker method, I have multiple takes when I make a mistake. So I can actually choose the best take from the multiple takes to use in that section. So just do what works best for you and what makes the most sense for you. But those are a couple tips that you could maybe use, and hopefully they help. Oh, then you said specifically male-female conversation. Yeah, I would highlight them. And some male voices that I've used have been very difficult to maintain and have really torn up my voice a lot. So I have hot tea, something soothing for the throat. That might help, just to have it handy, like a throat spray even. That might help. Musical Neptunian says, oh, I have the same problem with male-female conversations. Yeah, it can be difficult. It can be difficult to keep track of everybody, especially if you get into the format where there's no he said, she said, it's just dialogue, one right after the other, and then you're trying to keep track of who said what and just hopefully you don't get lost. It really helps to go through beforehand and highlight them so you're not having to do that in the moment while you're trying to record. Where are we at on time? So we got about 10 minutes left. Okay, let's hop back over to the poll. 45 votes. Do you slate your auditions? Is today's poll. 16% say yes. 29% say no. So it's not as equally divided anymore. And then 56% say what does slate mean? Interesting. It was pretty much even. Yes and no were pretty much even for the majority of the hour. That's interesting. Lost my spot. Oh, the stereopist. Why do you do this to me? Stereopsist. Thanks for your advice about Fiverr. You are right. Gigs are a great way to market our skills. They are, and they're just one way. They're just one way, right? Because you could go on to, oh God, there's tons of freelance marketplaces. And I understand that not everybody likes these types of websites. They want to work directly with agents, but ultimately it's your business, do what you want to do. But Fiverr, if you're open to working on a freelance marketplace and having your skills be a product to order, then do it. There's a lot of people that make a lot of money on Fiverr every month. So I wouldn't discount it, but do what you want to do. Mike Russell says, LOL, I'm legendary. No, it's not. Well, I didn't think that you were the actual Mike Russell because Mike probably doesn't even know who the heck I am, but thank you for joining, Mike. I appreciate you stopping by. Henrik says, thank you so much, Angela. And isn't the space under the stairs called a cupboard? I feel like that's where Harry Potter used to live. That is where Harry Potter used to live. And I think that might be one of the things that depends on where you live and what it's called there. But I almost want to say there was another word for that, the space under the stairs. I want to say what comes to mind is like Victorian movies, in the Victorian era, in the Victorian area, that they called it something else, but I don't know. I'll think of it later or I'll find it later. It might have even been what was the other thing? The spandrel? Spandrel. It could be that. I don't know. What do I know? But Harry Potter, yeah. They called it a cupboard. You're right. Ash says, thank you for answering my question. I do have a PVC moving blanket booth. It's just not the best. I will try to treat it the best I can. That is the best way to go. I know some spaces are just going to be very difficult to try to get to treat, but really that is the best way to approach it, is to treat your space the best you can. You might have to get creative and think outside the box, but it can be done. And that is the best way to do it, really. Otherwise, you're just trying to put Band-Aids on things, with effects in post, when you're trying to add a de-reverb and a de-noise and all of that stuff just eventually just destroys the sound of your voice. So you want to eliminate the problem if you can to have the best sounding audio quality in the end. The end result sounds better. Where am I? Robert Palmore says, when I forget a name or make a mistake, I say, sorry, I have damn bramage. That's funny. Yeah, something similar. I say something similar. It'll come to me. I can't think of anything right now. I have a headache. My head hurts. Twisted 681 says you could record all of one voice and then all of another and so on. This could help, but it would cause most post-recording editing. Yeah, I was going to mention that too for character voices, to record all of the voices separate. But that will require you to have to splice everything into the book later. So I don't know. I've done that because I've had to not like characters in their entirety and then splice them in, but I've actually produced books where I recorded all the female parts and then I've had to take the male parts that someone else narrated and then inserted them into the male parts. And that takes a long time. So to do it that way would almost take maybe not twice as long, but that would definitely add some hours onto your plate to do it that way. I think what I have found is just giving yourself a nice pause, identifying who's saying what at a glance with highlighting or however you want to do it. And then just taking a pause and just preparing yourself, maybe mentally getting back into that character's shoes to kind of become that person and to give that character voice. And at the same time, before you do that, while you're getting into those characters' mental shoes or mentally getting into their shoes, you know what I mean? Taking a sip of hot tea or something to kind of prepare your voice if it's something that's taxing on your voice, that could help too. I think that's what I do most often, but adding them all together in post would definitely take a long time. MJ Rod says, for the character back and forth, can you record one person first and then another recording for the other? Yeah, that was basically what Twisted 681 was saying. But it's you could, but again, it would take a lot more time than I think you realize to paste them all in later. Oh my gosh, where was I? Doop-a-doop-doo. Oh, 90 Nostalgia? That's a cool name. Hi, Angela. I'm new to ACX and I have been having a hard time finding audition scripts that don't have major errors or rough sentence structure that make it really tough to narrate. Is this common? I wouldn't say it's common, but you definitely will run into these. Everybody at this day and age, everybody has the opportunity to pretty much self-publish and do, write and publish their own book. Some people, unfortunately, don't take the time to have it proofed or edited or, they just write it and then publish it. And that is their right. They can do that if they want to. But I wouldn't say it's common, but it does happen. It does happen when they don't have someone else proof or edit their manuscript for them. You will definitely run into some difficult books to narrate. And also, the way that we read books and the way that we read them out loud is two different things. So sometimes sentence structures, even if the book is written really, really well, it's up to the narrator to determine how to present that sentence. Because if you speak it out loud, it might not make the same kind of sense that it does written on the page because of maybe lack of pauses or commas and I know some of you know what I'm talking about, but it's up to us to try to make that make sense. But to answer your question before I go off on another tangent, it's not common. It's not a common thing, but it does and can happen for sure, especially with everybody self-publishing these days. Colin Clark says, if you record all of one first, then the other next, I'd think you'd struggle with emphasis and tone because the conversations would be out of context. That too. Yeah, you run the risk of having something not having the same kind of tone or, if someone's having a heated conversation, it might not sound that way if you record them all separately. You won't have, maybe a breath or, you know what I mean? It's better to do it all in one go, but take a pause if you need to before that next character and mentally prepare yourself for that character. But I think recording them all separate is asking for a lot more trouble down the road than we probably realize. Robert Palmore says, when confronting an unknown word like stereo, don't make me read that. I break it down like, I know, stereo, then P, then cyst. Yes, but I'm trying to make it flow because I am a voice actor, so I want to attack it. Stereopsist. Did I get it? I still don't get it right all the time, but makes it easy to get all the syllables in there. Yeah, for sure. Colin Clark says space under the stairs, a cubbyhole. Yeah, I guess it could be a cubby hole too. Um, let's see. Where are we at? Brittany Beck says, I definitely do the highlighting. Very helpful. But yes, I do think slowing down would probably help me so I don't do so many takes trying to remember how to do each voice. If that is the issue, if you're having trouble remembering what that character voice sounds like, you could have a master file with all of the characters on it, or a file, an audio file for each character that you can go back and listen to reference. Instead of having to go back to chapter 1 and finding where that person was talking, you can have a master file for each of the character voices to go back and listen to for reference. Or have one audio file and then have them all separated by markers. If you have Adobe Audition, you can have character 1, character 2, character 3, and then all separated by markers, and then you can change the name on the marker to that character. So you have a master file of what everybody sounds like. Either way you do it, that would be a good way to remember who that character is and what they sound like, if that is the issue that we're having. Jim Ashbrook says, I have a very high voice as a male, so much so that I have been confused for a woman. I have been told it is all in the read or the performance. Is this your thinking as well? Absolutely. Absolutely. It is all in the read and the performance, the attitude, the personality of that character. Not so much pitch or tone. Well, I guess a little bit of tone, but not so much pitch, right? If you have a high voice, low voice, it's just differentiating with attitude, becoming that character. Gary Micheloni says, at 90 nostalgia, 90s nostalgia, I agree with the bad grammar. I've asked if the script needed to be rewritten, but it turned out they had already printed the book. Yikes. I always ask my clients to provide me with the final draft. And if the manuscript still seems to be, it could need some restructuring, or maybe some typos are still present, I will stop and ask the client if they had given me the correct version of the script. Because I've had it happen a couple times now where the rights holder had given me the wrong version. So at the very least, I would reach out and just say, hey, is this your final draft? And if it is, then just do your best with their piece. Andy B says, could there be a gig for proofreading and grammatical? Yes, there could. There absolutely could. You could create a gig on Fiverr for ebook editing, right? For copy editing. Why not? Do it. Absolutely. Kirk says, if no staircase directly underneath, spandrel. The internet doesn't say what it's called if there's a stair underneath. Also, closet corridor on the Chesapeake Bridge tunnel. Oh, you're on the, where are you guys going? Where are you guys going? Closet corridor. I don't know. Now I'm going to have to look up. I'm going to have to look up what I'm thinking of. I can't think of what it was. Andy B says errors. You mean yeah, you can make a gig for going through somebody's manuscript and editing it, looking for typos, suggesting other ways of sentence structure, for sure. Robert Palmore says, ta-da! 90s Nostalgia says that Gary Micheloni, it's extra frustrating because being very new to doing voiceover, I don't really know if I should be narrating by correcting certain things or just reading exactly as they wrote it. I would read it exactly as they wrote it. If it is a glaring typo or something that is obviously wrong, I would reach out to the rights holder and let them know, so then they in turn can discuss with you what the issue is and decide whether or not to correct that issue also on their print, on their ebook, right? Because I'm sure their book is on Amazon. And if there is an error or a typo, they would love to know. So definitely keep them posted. I've had situations where I've had authors, there was conversations and it was a he talking and it said she said, but it wasn't a she said, it was a he that was talking. And I the author didn't realize it. She said that the book had been edited twice and that still made it through, but it wasn't realized until I was narrating the audiobook. So if something like that happens, definitely let them know so they can fix it on their end as well. But most of the time, read it as it's written because there might be a purpose to the way that it's written. But if it's a glaring typo, definitely let them know before you correct it for them. Colin says, thank you for the stream, Angela. Thank you for joining me today. Brandon's here. Hey, Brandon. Brandon was here. That's so funny. You forgot the date. Was, and it has to be W-U-Z, right? Was. What's up, Brandon? Thanks for stopping by. And then Kirk says, heading home now. Went to Raleigh, North Carolina to one of our favorite restaurants, Pools. Yeah, we'll drive 10 hours for food. Who doesn't? I wish I had someplace that was awesome that was 10 hours away. Well, I guess there's a lot of places that we could go that are less than 10 hours away. I just never get out of my cave of wonders. I need to leave more often. I need some sunshine. All right, guys. Well, that is it for me. It's been over an hour because my camera overheats if it goes over much more than an hour. So I'm going to call it for today's session, my live Q&A session. Thank you, everybody, once again for joining. And I will see you all next week. Let's see if my Stream Deck works. Bye.